An actress who has managed to become popular in multiple generations through her various roles in film, television, and stage is Angela Lansbury. When she passed away last month at the age of 96, she left behind an incredible legacy of roles she will always be remembered for, and I'm going to provide some of the highlights of her amazing career and explore what made her so entertaining to watch. It did not take long into her acting career for Lansbury to land her first screen role in 1944's Gaslight. Playing a maid who helps in gaslighting Ingrid Bergman's character, she immediately made an impression on audiences. She was able to play an absolutely unlikable character with always a sharp remark and a cold stare. She managed to stand out even in a cast that included Bergman, Charles Boyer, and Joseph Kahn, and earned a well-deserved Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Angela Lansbury would appear in several movies for MGM at the start of her career, ranging from period pieces to light-hearted entertainment. The same year as Gaslight, she appeared as Elizabeth Taylor's sister in the popular horse-racing family movie National Velvet. She would then receive her second Oscar nomination for a performance in The Picture of Dorian Gray as a tavern singer who becomes one of several people affected by the main character's obsession with a constantly changing painting. She would play key roles in the likes of the biblical movie Samson and Delilah, Frank Capra's State of the Union, and the 1948 adaptation of The Three Musketeers. Lansbury was not particularly satisfied with many of the roles MGM gave her, though, and she was used less than a lot of other actresses contracted with the studio. Samson and Delilah was even a Paramount movie she was loaned out to. After ending her contract with MGM, she took on a variety of roles, but maybe the screen performance she'll be most remembered for during this period is Mrs. Iceland in The Manchurian Candidate. Angela Lansbury brought the right amount of chilliness to the role of this villainous character who tries to manipulate an upcoming election. The film and Lansbury's performance successfully peels away more and more her villainous behavior and the way she takes advantage of her son's brainwashed state. Even though she was only 3 years older than Lawrence Harvey, who played her son Raymond, we buy into her role as this matriarch with ulterior motives. One of the most pivotal scenes in the movie is when she monologues to Raymond what she wants him to do at an upcoming political convention, and Lansbury nails the completely cold personality of this woman with no feeling towards her own son. She just wants power. She got her third Academy Award nomination for this performance, and Mrs. Iceland immediately earned her place as one of the most evil mothers in film history. When I was younger, the role I certainly most associated with Angela Lansbury was Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and for good reason. She displayed a delightful quality as Miss Price, a witch in training who takes in 3 children during World War II, and they go on a magical adventure. It's an incredibly charming performance, and she bounces off really well with David Tomlinson. She also brought a lot of warmth to the Sherman Brothers songs, especially The Age of Not Believing. Julie Andrews had actually been offered the role originally, but was unsure if she should do it. Eventually, she agreed to be in the movie, but by that point Lansbury had already signed on, and Andrews was ecstatic at that choice. I watched Bedknobs and Broomsticks a number of times as a child, and Lansbury's wonderful performance is one of the things that has always stuck with me about the movie. Lansbury also had a memorable role in the film adaptation of Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile, sharing many great scenes with Maggie Smith. She made a name for herself on the stage, becoming highly regarded for performances in productions of Mame and Gypsy. Probably her most recognized theatrical role is as Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. She actually originated the role in the Stephen Sondheim musical, and while I've only seen clips from her performance, I can tell she brought a lot of energy to the scheming baker who takes part in turning Sweeney's customers into pies. Certainly one of the characters Angela Lansbury will be most remembered for is Jessica Fletcher in the long-running television series Murder, She Wrote. A big ratings hit for CBS, she played a mystery writer who often finds herself solving some sort of murder, either in her small town of Cabot Cove or where she winds up in. I actually had never watched Murder, She Wrote, so I recently watched a couple of episodes, and it's easy to see the appeal. The episode set up the crime and the possible suspects early on, and then has Fletcher do her thing. The show definitely seemed to rely on Lansbury, as well as the guest stars who popped up, to bring life to the mysteries, and there was humor gained out of the way Fletcher clashed with authorities. Although at a certain point, you have to wonder how she feels about all these dead bodies that keep popping up when she's around. There were 264 episodes produced, followed by 4 TV movies. How much death can one middle-aged author take? Angela Lansbury's had multiple animated roles over the years as well. Her first voiceover performance in an animated production was in the Rankin Bass television special, The First Christmas. She then voiced a witch in Rankin Bass's animated feature, The Last Unicorn. However, her most memorable voice work came as Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast. She was able to convey the necessary muddly quality, along with showing she had little patience for the Beast's behavior. She proved a good level head between Lumiere's enthusiasm and Cogsworth's stuffiness too. As Mrs. Potts, Lansbury performed as part of the ensemble of enchanted objects in the songs Be Our Guest and Something There. Her standout moment, though, comes when she sings the title tune that perfectly captures Belle and the Beast's romance. Lansbury brought the needed warmth, and she was actually pivotal in helping that become an unforgettable scene in Disney animation history. She later voiced the Dowager Empress in Don Bluth and Gary Goldman's Anastasia. The role required her to play someone who has been through a lot as she deals with several people who have claimed to be Anastasia. Lansbury managed to be a highlight of this film. A few years ago, she had a cameo as the voice of the Mayor of Whoville in Illumination's adaptation of The Grinch, and it was wonderful hearing her voice in the movie, even if it was only minor. As Lansbury got older, she found herself playing snooty, elderly women, but she played those roles well. She played the antagonist in the delightful fantasy film Nanny McPhee. She also had a role in the comedy Mr. Popper's Penguins, the wealthy woman Jim Carrey tries to make a major deal with. This was not a particularly good film in my opinion, but she at least brought some class to the movie. Meanwhile, Lansbury continued to be active on the stage, appearing in productions of A Little Night Music, Driving Miss Daisy, Blithe Spirit, and The Importance of Being Earnest over the past decade and a bit. A particularly wonderful appearance of hers was her cameo in Mary Poppins Returns. Appearing in the final scene of the movie, it was incredibly sweet seeing her show up and talk to Mary Poppins. It was extremely fitting considering the many connections between Mary Poppins and our own Sherman-scored fantasy Disney musical Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and knowing that made it all the more special. However, that won't be her last screen appearance. She makes a brief cameo in the beginning of the new Knives Out sequel, Glass Onion. Seeing her on the screen one last time was touching to see, and having her be in a murder mystery just seemed right. Of course, only talked about a sample of her career, as she acted in several movies, television shows, and stage productions throughout her life. She managed to entertain several generations, whether she played a kindly mother figure or a villain up to no good, and she will certainly always be remembered as an acting legend whose performances we'll forever continue to return to.